Cavendish debuted on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global on the 6th of November 2016. This batch of characters were the final wave of initial Dressrosa characters to have released, aside from one additional Sugo-Fest exclusive character which we will discuss in next week's episode. The characters that were featured in this batch included Destruction Cannon Ideo, Elisabello II, King of Prodence Kingdom, Dagama, Prodence Kingdom Tactician, Orlumbus, Massacre Ruler, as well as Suleiman the Beheader. And this batch's brand new legend introduced a captain ability that would provide a boost to multiple typings at once and providing large damage multipliers to himself. His special effect allows positive buffs to be removed, which is super uncommon even to this day, and also gave himself a significant damage increase for massive single target normal attacks. Introducing White Knight Cavendish. In this series, we'll be traveling back in time to experience some of the older Sugo-Fest exclusive characters in their prime, aiming to show just what it was like to use these characters on their debut. I hope you enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's enter the Legends of OPTC. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of the Legends of OPTC series, and today we're having a look at the Cavendish Sugo-Fest batch. This particular batch wasn't super exciting, but there were a couple of characters that we do need to talk about that were actually pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Okay? First one we have here is the Destruction Cannon Ideo. This character, quick fighter shooter character, pretty interesting class combination that we saw a lot obviously a little bit later on, but fighter shooter, very interesting class combination nonetheless. Captain ability was pretty bad, but a special ability on a 12 turn cooldown that would deal a bit of damage, or 12 turn cooldown after limit break, obviously would be 17 turns base, which is pretty bad, but would do 50 times attack and quick damage to all enemies, boost the attack of fighter and shooter characters by 1.75 for one turn. Honestly, not a terrible special ability. Pretty good. I mean, boosting two separate classes by 1.75. The only issue is 17 turns was ridiculously long. 12 turn cooldown for his 1.5 boost, which is, I guess, usable, but it was only for fighter characters, and, you know, shooter characters at the time didn't have, like, amazing god tier attack boosters. Like, the best one was, like, literally Raid Zephyr, who was also a 1.75 attack booster, was a much more respectable cooldown. So that character was just used a lot more for shooter teams, and for fighter teams, you had characters like Koala, for example, which were just a little bit more useful. So unfortunately, you know, Ideo wasn't very useful on release. But then we move on to the best rare recruit of the batch, the character that saw the most play. Even to this day, this character is still used, Elisabello, and he was graced with a very good limit break, which of course didn't really, you know, come into full swing until many years later. But Elisabello, fighter powerhouse character, and his captain ability was not really used, but the special ability was the interesting part. So it would go to a 20 turn cooldown, and it just does damage to all enemies, which doesn't seem that exciting, but as I discussed in my Corazon video, the way that this character was used back in the day is that if you're able to stall out for an extremely long time, the damage boost that he applies with his special ability will stack even further, which means that after an additional 20 turns, you can get up to a 500 times multiplier of damage that will go against all enemies. So just imagine like a king and queen, you know, when they're a captain, when they use their special, I think they do 500 times their attack at the end of the turn, or think of it as like a Kaido activation, right? He basically does like Kaido damage at the end of the turn, so long as like, you know, you get his thing stacked up all the way to not only to 20 turns, but an additional 20 turns. So it's a 40 turn, which is pretty difficult to do, but a lot of stall teams would utilize this character to basically blow away content. And the good thing is once he did get his limit break, he would reduce his own cooldowns by 15 turns at the start of the fight. So it'd be on a 3 turn cooldown at the start of the quest, which allowed you to get the AoE damage, the huge AoE damage from his stage 3 to occur a lot quickly, which helped out a lot. So that's the breakdown of Elisabello, such a good rare recruit. Dagama was also pretty interesting, and the thing about him that a lot of people don't even like remember is that this is a character back in 2016, mind you, that reduced paralysis and despair by 5 turns and also did a 10% health cut. This character is actually really good, but the thing about it is that back in 2016, there really wasn't a lot of content that would give you, you know, paralysis and despair or anything like that. Like, this was a very uncommon debuff. I mean, despair was relatively popular. Paralysis was a little bit more uncommon, but was starting to see more play, especially in Coliseums, which were very popular at the time. But, you know, this is a great piece of utility. Like, literally one of the best utility units that we'd seen up until this point. Very, very nice unit, but a lot of people kind of forget about this unit too. Lumbus is coming up next, and we actually showcased him on my Legend Barto video. This character being a powerhouse striker, very good for those teams, because he would empty all slots with block slots, deal damage based on the number of block slots that you emptied with the special. Following that, he would then change any empty slots into matching. Essentially, if you had a full board of block orbs after using his special ability, he would give you a full board of matching slots. Very useful to have. Block orbs weren't super common back in 2016, but obviously these debuffs become more common over time. And if you're able to stack out 6 slots that are block slots, 500 times his attack, this is a crazy amount of damage that you can get, as well as getting a full board of matching slots on top of it, so long as the content gives you block slots. So a pretty powerful special ability, especially on a 14-turn cooldown. Again, pretty respectable back in 2016. Very, very nice rare recruit that saw a niche amount of play. And then the final rare recruit of this batch was Suleiman, which is probably the worst character of this batch, honestly. So his captain ability, boosting attack of slashes by 3.5, but then reduces the multiplier by 0.1 at the end of each turn. So it starts at 3.5 on stage 1, but then after each turn it goes to 3.4, 3.3. You guys get the deal. But it goes down to a 1 times multiplier, so it'll literally go down to you have no attack boost, which pretty sucks. But then 14 turn cooldown, does a bit of damage and changes own slot and captain slot into matching. Like, just a very average special considering all the other characters in this batch. Definitely the worst special that we'd seen thus far. So unfortunately Suleiman wasn't very good, but his Coliseum variant, which came out a little bit later on, was actually a little bit better, and he saw a little bit more play. But let's go ahead and talk about the character of this batch, the brand new legend being Cavendish. So Cavendish, slasher driven character with the captain effect of boosting the attack of strength, dex, and quick characters by 2.5 times, but then boosts his own attack by a 4 times multiplier. There's a lot of damage. This guy hits very hard with his own multiplier, but you gotta remember, if you run double Cavendish, the other friend Cavendish will only boost his own attack again by 4 times, and it means that the other friend captain only gets a 2.5 boost. Unfortunately, it's not both captains receive the 4 times, it's only himself. So you do have to remember that when building teams with this guy. But not a bad captain effect. You get access to strength, dex, and quick characters, which is a pretty good pool of units, right? Very, very nice to have. And then his special ability would remove all positive buffs on your team, then deal damage to all enemies, and then boost his own attack by 2.25 for 2 turns, and amplify his own orbs by 1.5 for 2 turns. He also locks his own slot and gives himself a quick slot, which means that you're able to get multiple turns of his ability of these huge boosts to himself. So not only he's giving himself a 4 times attack boost with his captain ability, but his special ability is also focused on himself, which is very reminiscent of the character in the anime and the manga. Makes sense. But of course, boosting his own attack is a little bit risky because, you know, you're really relying on this character to do all of your damage, and if he doesn't kill, that is going to be a bit of a problem. But the really good thing about Cavendish, though, is the main variety of his teams, right? And the fact that you could run him as a sub on teams, and if you're up against a strength boss, just activating this special ability would allow you to get through it a lot easier, especially like not even using him as a captain, but you can use him as a sub under really powerful captains to also get him to do really, really good things. The 2.25 attack boost to himself is good. Only giving himself a 1.5 orb boost is a little bit annoying, so ideally you'd probably want to run another orb booster that is stronger than 1.5 to make sure that Cavendish hits as hard as he possibly can. So that's the breakdown of the brand new legend Cavendish. Really excited to actually use him today and see what he can do. And then back here on the wheel today, we have a couple of pieces of content that I feel Cavendish would be suitable against to kind of showcase what he could do. So we've got Clash Akainu, Clash Arlong, and Coliseum Zephyr. Now, the thing that all these three have in common is that they're all strength-related bosses. So I really hope that we're able to showcase mainly what Cavendish was going to be used as a captain as. However, one of the good things about Cavendish is that you could actually hybrid him with another friend captain that a lot of people used back in the day to clear difficult content, which was Blackbeard. Blackbeard and Cavendish hybrid teams were extremely powerful because you got access to high HP, bypassing defensive effects with Blackbeard, you got health cuts with Blackbeard, and then all of the benefits with Cavendish boosting a lot of different units. That was very powerful back in 2016 and, you know, even into 2017 as well. But the thing about it is I really want to showcase Cavendish and the damage he was able to provide. However, just letting you guys know, and just knowing that I know that Cavendish Blackbeard teams were very strong. We're not showcasing that today, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and spin the wheel and see what type of content we're going to be using Cavendish today against. I really don't know which one it's going to be. Hopefully it's something awesome. Let's see it. And it's going to be the Coliseum. That's exciting. We haven't done many Coliseums on the Legends of OPTC series, so I'm all for this. Let's go ahead and build a team to take on Coliseum Zephyr. Yes! 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 Nami! Okay, dope. Yes! Okay, that was the character I wanted the most out of this new batch, aside from the Legend Luffy. That is insane. Okay, so she is so good. If you guys don't know what she does, reduces paralysis and special bind by 5 turns and delays by 2 turns. I think the next one is the Luffy. The next one is the Luffy. The next one is the Red. God damn, just getting ahead of myself. Let's see what it is. Yes! Woo! Yes! Woo! Yes! 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 Okay, that is dope. New Red, new Legend. Yes, Cavendish, dude. Not Luffy, but he was still one of my ones that I wanted the most, dude. Yes, dude. Alright, so we are now in game with Cavendish. Cavendish, captain of the Beautiful Pirates. His bounty is in the 9 figures, and he was once the subject of constant newspaper coverage before Luffy and the other supernovas stole the limelight, which he still has a grudge about. When he falls asleep, a different personality of his appears, which we will be seeing that personality arrive today. So, unfortunately, I don't actually have a duplicate Cavendish to just use, so I have to actually de-evolve my current one, which is completely limit broken, rainbowed. So this is not a typical Cavendish that you would be using in content, but I digress. We're going to be using it anyway. Now this is the team that I've come up with. We may have to change this. I'm not going into this being like super confident, but I'm very excited to jump into this nonetheless. So let's go ahead and do the quick team rundown. We've got Doflamingo for a larger orb boost on the final boss stage, hoping that gives us a little bit of the edge to get us through the boss fight. We've also got Lucci, and I've also got Corazon. Those two characters are just because we need a little bit of strength, dex, and quick coverage, just to give us a bit more damage against some of the other characters we'll come up against in this fight. This is going to be a relatively difficult team, relatively difficult piece of content for this team to go up against. We've also got Marco as well. So Marco and Corazon give us a bit of healing, which we may need once we get to stage 4, maybe even stage 5 as well. It's going to be interesting to see how we go through it. We also have the 1000 Sunny ship, which does a bit of AoE damage, which again is going to be pretty useful in this content. So I am excited to jump into this, but I am also very nervous. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So shout out to my girl Karissa for coming in with the Cavendish. Let's hopefully get through in one fight without too many issues here. Let's jump into this. Black Arms Zephyr Coliseum. Let's go. Let's get it. Very nervous, but very excited. Alright, let's get it. So it's actually been quite a long time since I've actually lost in one of these quests in the Legends of OPTC series, but if there's any that I'm going to lose today, it's probably going to be this one. So let's jump into it. First thing is first, we need our specials. Unfortunately, no limit break, so we lose out on a lot of cooldown on our characters. Limit breaking definitely changes things, that is for damn sure. Alright, let's start things off. We don't want to take too much damage, of course. Now remember with Cavendish, he boosts his own attack by 4 times, so your largest piece of damage output is going to come from the Cavendish himself. So we want to make sure that if we are going to go for damage, we want to hit with him last, ideally. But, man, we'll have to see how things go, because we do need to make sure that our Dex character hits quick enemies and our Strength character hits Dex enemies. It just depends on how things go. You know, Cavendish on release was a pretty exciting legend because of the team variety that you could get. You know, a lot of characters that had been releasing up until this point were boosting like one class or one color, and now we had this character come out and boosting 3 types at once, which is a pretty nice change into things, honestly. Especially when Lucy comes out. Man, Lucy's going to be a fun episode too. Man, Lucy was such a beast on release. I'm going to pick up that recovery slot there, get a bit of healing back. We want to make sure we get our as many cooldowns as we possibly can. That's going to be super good for us. Let's go ahead and kill this guy. Oh, I did a little bit of an attack that I didn't want to do there. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us. Right, let's attack with the Doflamingo. Make sure to get a matching slot on him. I don't think it really matters too much. It would be nice to get a slot on him though. Just cuz. Right, a bit of damage once again. Actually, it probably doesn't matter, actually, because at this point, I think stage 2, when I was looking up, it's Bins, who's a Dex character, so we probably don't care about the quick characters getting too many quick slots, so we'll just attack with Marco, that's fine, and then we'll move on to the next stage. So we got about as much stall as we possibly could. We probably could have got one more extra turn there. We could have stalled on the enemy as well, take a hit from one of those guys. But here we have Bins. So Bins, what is he going to do? He's going to bind one of our characters, but it's fine. We have bind sockets. That's not an issue. Now, those characters that are around him look to be a bit annoying. So I think what we might do is we might take the time to attack with some of our quick characters to kill some of them, and then use the other characters to attack Bins. That seems like a pretty good idea. We have full HP as well, so we don't even need to worry about the recovery slot. So let's see how we go. Damn, that was almost a perfect turn. We almost killed him straight off the cuff there. Alright, so he's going to use it again, and we still are getting rid of the bind, which is good. We probably can take a hit from these guys that are surrounding us. Unfortunately, no strength slot on Lucci himself. I am tempted to stall maybe like one turn just to get Lucci's special, because I feel like having Lucci's special, we could save Lucci's special for a bit later. We could do that. I think the healing specials are going to come very, very good for the stage 4 fight against Sengoku. The Sengoku fight's very, very annoying to get around. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's just do attack. Let's go for it. Nice. So we're going to take one hit here. How much damage does this guy do? A decent chunk. 3,600 is a decent chunk, I would say. We will probably kill here, though. Let's get rid of these slots. Move into stage 3. Alright, so we're halfway through the quest right now. Okay, so Iron is here this time. Now, what does she do? Iron is going to despair our captains for 4 turns. That's not good, because we don't have any despair removal. So I guess we're just going to take this turn to... See, we could use Lucci's special here as well, just to generate as many matching slots as we can, but I feel like saving it's probably better. Because we don't have anything going on in terms of our damage, because we're obviously despaired, we could probably just use normal attacks to kill some of the surrounding enemies. That seems like a pretty good idea. Lucci with the high combo hits is pretty useful here, actually. And unfortunately, we do not kill one of those ladies. Hopefully, we don't take too much damage. It's not too bad. And then what do you do here? A slot change. Okay, that ain't good. That ain't good at all. I think I am going to use a Lucci special here. I feel like using that here is pretty good, because it means that for the next 3 turns, we have a very high chance of landing on matching slots. It didn't really do that much damage, though, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll just do this. We can hit last with the Cavendish. We can actually heal with the Cavendishes. That seems like the better idea. Just get the recovery slots back. That's a lot of recovery, actually. It was like 3,500 healing. That is ridiculous. I mean, I guess having Corazon and Marco on your team, which have very high recoveries at base, makes a lot of sense. All right, so we can just attack here. This is fine. Moving on to the next stage, and we have all of our specials ready to go. But stage 4 is going to be annoying. So stage 4 is this Sengoku fight. If we get through this Sengoku fight, I feel like we'll be fine. I don't think the last stage is going to be an issue at all. This stage, though, however, this stage scares me, dude. So in this stage here, we have these mob characters, and what Sengoku does every single turn, he resummons these mobs. But the problem is Sengoku has this stupid defense buff, and back when this Coliseum came out, there wasn't really a character that you could use that would remove defense up. I mean, you can use a defense remover, but the problem is he has an immunity buff, so you really can't do anything. You can't even delay him either. Unless if you have a character to reduce damage, which if we die, I have a character in mind that we could use to help us get through this fight. But we have 2 healers, so I feel like that kind of helps us out a little bit. Now, I'm not going to use any damage dealing specials, well, maybe Marco, but in terms of doing damage to the enemy, I feel like we want to wait until the defense is removed, and then we can try and burst him down from there. That's what I feel is probably a good idea. So we're just going to take these turns just to kill these mobs, because they seem a bit annoying. Luckily, they don't actually have that much HP, which is good. Having those matching slots from the Lucci special from the previous room definitely helped out a lot there. Alright, so now we've got this turn here. Let's kill off some of the characters that are on like a 2-1 turn cooldown. We can actually pick up another recovery slot here, which will be pretty nice. Let's do that. And these guys on a 3-turn cooldown. I'm completely okay with keeping these guys up. And then you'll see that Sengoku just summons them back. Super annoying. Okay, so we kill these guys on a 1-turn cooldown. These guys are going to be annoying. But now in this next turn here, you'll see that the defense up and the immunity are gone. Sengoku does a lot of damage by himself, which is annoying. Okay, but now that all the defense is removed, he's back on a 3-turn cooldown, which is great. So I think this is probably the most prime opportunity to try and deal as much damage as we can. Alright, so first things first, we can just go ahead and use the cannon. Get rid of a majority of those mobs there. Then we can go ahead and use the special ability of Cavendish, which is going to give himself a 2.25 attack boost and a 1.5 times orb boost for 2 turns. And he also locks his own slot, gives himself a matching slot. Like, it's a nice special for dealing a lot of damage very, very quickly. But now that we've done this, it means that if we don't kill him in this one turn, that we're going to have to deal with more mobs again. So that obviously sucks. So let's go ahead and do as much damage as we can and hopefully get the dub. Let's get it. Okay, that was not as much damage as I was expecting, but at least we have another full turn of doing damage, right? Which is useful. These 2 green guys is kind of annoying. See, we can heal if we need to with the Corazon, but I feel like we'll probably... heal next turn because of Marco special. I feel that's probably the more appropriate thing to do. So I want to kill these guys on a 1-turn cooldown and then target Sengoku and hopefully get the kill. So let's try this. Let's try it. Whew, alright, that was so good. I had to do a couple of manual targets there, but we got through it. That was super risky. Whew, that was pretty harsh. But now at this point here, we only have to kill the mobs. These mobs don't have much HP at all. Dude, I think we're gonna do it. I think we're gonna do it. Let's just attack. There's really not much else to do. And then Cavendish to kill. And then we're on the final boss stage. Can you believe it? We actually made it through the Sengoku stage, which was the scariest stage of them all. Now, in this stage here, because we have type advantage, I'm not too worried about it. So you see, he removes our beneficial effects. I don't know if he removes beneficial effects every single turn. But either way, let's go ahead and use the Doflamingo special first. Because remember, Doflamingo provides a 2 times orb boost to our characters, whereas Cavendish, when you use his special, only provides a 1.5 times boost to himself. What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
And Doflamingo is even better because it provides orb boost to all characters, so all characters are going to be doing more damage nonetheless. Let's use Cavendish now. Cavendish providing that self 2.25 times attack boost, and it's for multiple turns too. So even though, I don't know what he does after turn 1, but I feel like this should be enough damage to probably kill him in 1 turn. So I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? This is good though. I'm feeling confident. What's his base attack? He's at like 190k. Okay, let's see how things go. Now I think he has around what 3 to 4 million HP with type advantage, all these orb boosts and attack boosts. Let's give it a shot. Here we go. Let's do it. Okay, was not enough. What does he do? He doesn't do anything. Okay, that's pretty awesome to see. And I just realized that I am the most stupid individual on this planet because Cavendish, when you launch his special, removes your beneficial effects. I am so stupid. See, this is one of the things about Cavendish that is actually kind of underrated and obviously overlooked, because their ability to remove beneficial effects with a special that you activate is very uncommon. And this is one of those characters that does it. So the special ability of Doflamingo really didn't do anything. So that obviously is a bit of a downer, but that's not a really big issue for us because I feel like at this point, there's nothing this guy can do. We've got it in the bag. Let's get it. Let's just get this final kill. And there it is. We beat Coliseum Zephyr with Cavendish, and we didn't even die, which is awesome. I was really worried that we were potentially going to lose the quest, which obviously would have been a little bit of a downer. Would have had to have done it all again, but awesome that we got it done on the first attempt without too many issues, which is absolutely fantastic. So, you know, even though we got that wrong with using Doflamingo, Doflamingo definitely did not need to be on the team. We could have replaced him with a damage reducer would have been a lot easier to get through the quest. But despite all that, we got through it without too many issues. Very, very awesome. And that brings us about at the end of another Legend of OPTC video. In next week's video, we're going to be taking on a pretty awesome character on release, and on Japan was actually, I think, their first anniversary character, or was it their second anniversary character? I think it might have been the second anniversary. I don't remember exactly when the character released on Japan, but the character is version 1 Trafalgar Law, the first law legend in the game, and I'm very excited to use him because on release was a very, very exciting unit, so very, very interested to use him. But that is going to bring an end to this week's video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.